I typically consider myself to be an apolitical person. What a way to start a video. But when the politics are breathing down my neck, reeking of war and uncertainty about the future, I cannot just ignore the ongoing events. Specifically, the current conflicts in Ukraine. It is already a war, and it might very easily spiral out into something even more terrifying. It's already horrible seeing the constant stream of terrible news from Ukraine all over the media. It's also nerve-wracking for me to think about my friends and loved ones in Russia, the regular folks who are oppressed by the Putkast cult, and gradually are getting cut off from the rest of the world more and more. It's very easy to feel powerless these days. I, for example, have no way to help Ukrainians defend their freedom due to my terrible physical health, nor can I support them monetarily, since I'm not exactly wealthy, and I wouldn't put war moving up here out of the question either. Instead, I have stumbled upon this massive itch.io games bundle that proceeds its profits to charities helping Ukraine, and I thought I could at least try to promote that, since I'm a gaming-focused YouTuber. In fact, I've gotten a hold of another dude from the capital D, and both of us will highlight some more obscure titles from the bundle of well over 900 downloadable games and goodies, in hope that it would help at least a tiny bit. First we have some Bad Ghosts. Don't rush to call the Ghostbusters just yet. Bad Ghost is actually a very cool guy who kindly contributed covering an equally ghastly game.
Okay, so trying to decide on a game to cover for this little segment proved more difficult than I expected. Do I review a more serious, down-to-earth title and risk comparing a fictional misery to the brutal reality occurring as we speak? Do I cover an upbeat title and risk appearing to make light of what we're ultimately trying to support here? Or do I just revert to my comfort zone and cover a horror game? Well, if there's a right or wrong answer, I honestly don't know what it is. So instead, I decided to cover the first game that actually made me feel something, which ended up being The Lost Night. Released in February of last year by indie developers Mario Cabello and Jovan Paul, The Lost Night sets you loose exploring villages and locations very much akin to your classic 8-bit games of the 80s. The music is pleasant, the art style evokes Earthbound meets Undertale at every turn, and in truth, the whole thing is a wonderfully mellow experience. I mean, aside from the fact that ghosts are trying to kill you at every turn, utilising a combat system which again can be very easily compared to Undertale's bullet hell approach to things, The Lost Night's premise is a simple one. Help the people you come across, upgrade your stats to increase your chances of survival, and have fun. And if you're into this kind of genre, you're probably going to have a fair bit of it. The combat is entertaining enough, albeit slightly repetitive, the character dialogue is fun and made me laugh on more than a few occasions, and the spooky Halloween night vibe that constantly simmers throughout the game fits right in with The Lost Night's pixelated direction. It's nostalgic retro in all the right places. So when I say that this game made me feel something, what I mean by that is that The Lost Night makes me smile. I felt genuinely at ease while drifting through this game, content in the simplicity of an experience that, even in spite of the combat sometimes proving a challenge, didn't really demand too much from me. And sometimes that's all you need. It's pure cute escapism, perfect for an evening where you might just want to sit down, relax and unwind. So yeah, that's it for my very tiny review of The Lost Night. Please consider checking out the bundle for Ukraine via itch. It's a huge amount of content for such a tiny amount to pledge, such as Backbone, Inmost, Home, Welcome to Elk, Death and Taxes, Cloud Garden, and Speed Dating for Ghosts. The list goes on, and the bundle for Ukraine is 100% worth it to help a cause in dire need of every little bit of support we can offer. Please consider checking it out, and thank you for watching.
Speed dating for ghosts, huh? I wonder if that is meant for actual ghosts, or is it a guide on how to date bad ghosts specifically? Either way sounds like a great deal. I've been pondering about covering some dark game myself, but things are quite stressful already, especially now. At the moment I'm probably the busiest I've been in my life, working on my bachelor's thesis, and doom-scrolling the news is certainly chipping away at my sanity too. To overwhelm all that negativity, I need an extremely strong positivity, and there's nothing better at making me feel better than a cat. Ain't that right? From the bundle for Ukraine I picked Cat Lateral Damage Remastered. I'm sorry, the pun was already in there. You might say, Dom, haven't you covered this already? Well, in a way. Shortly after my original review, a remastered edition has been released, which I hadn't played up until now, and I must say it is actually better than the original in almost every single way. Yet, I doubt it would warrant for another full review, so let's do this for now. For those of you completely unfamiliar with Cat Lateral Damage, it is a light-hearted little game about being a cat and going absolutely psychotic on every single object in the house. One could say that those cats have internalized the anti-object force thought very deeply. As for the differences with the original, the objective mode feels quite a bit better now, with a bigger variety of different objectives and all new energy mechanic instead of a simple timer. All the actions require energy now, which can be partially regained by snacking or napping. That makes the player quite a bit more tactical about what they do. The progression also seems a lot more fun. The cats feel quite weak and sluggish at first, but by doing silly cat things, you unlock stars using which you can upgrade stats and abilities. It's fairly easy to max them out, but it really does make the gameplay feel a lot more fluid and gives a sense of progression. Speaking of stats, different playable cats are no longer just a cosmetic feature. They have individual stats of their own, and the player can pick which ones they want to lock using knocked over cat pictures as a currency. The overall experience just feels nicer too, with upgraded visuals and new soundtracks. The game simply feels more polished. If not for the levels that have the exact same themes as in the original, I'd say this game is worth it to even be called a sequel and not just a remaster. Just like in the original, the objective mode is pretty short and can probably be beaten in under 2 hours, but this time the game packs more bang for the buck with the procedural mode. Like the name suggests, it procedurally generates levels and objectives, which adds a lot of variation, which is nice if you aim to lock all of the playable cats, or just want a chill gaming session to escape from daily worries. Now I'm handing the mic back to Bad Ghost again. What you got, my dude?
Hey folks, I know I kinda signed off the last section as my only feature of the video, but I wanted to jump back in and highlight another game from the bundle that ended up being a little bit more compelling than I expected. The Just Cam H indie release, Adventure for a Bit. Presented as a vibrantly colourful world generation tool, Adventure for a Bit offers you a very simple premise. Speak to the cute AI bot in order to develop your perfect world, or you can randomly type away and see what the game comes up with. And that's it, that's the whole game. And under the right circumstances, it's really damn nice too. As is probably obvious by now, Adventure for a Bit is a very casual experience. There's no narrative or true gameplay loop to speak of, no deep and meaningful mechanics. You just enter the seed or speak to Bit about what you'd like to see, and go have a look around. You'll probably only play it for 15 to 30 minutes at a time before then moving on to something else, but for a 15 to 30 minute example of relaxed escapism with a wonderfully mellow soundtrack simmering around you, Adventure for a Bit can be a very welcome break from the more intense, attention-grabbing experiences. The initial spark of wonder as you first glimpse the alien surreal worlds never really goes away. As soon as it feels like you've seen every version of the worlds available, you'll suddenly generate a wholly new, bizarre landscape. It kinda makes you wonder what might still be floating above us that we haven't discovered yet. And hey, if you're interested, here's my favourite seed so far. I love the way the stars appear to be morphing and shifting, whereas the landscape is just strange. And what's even more fascinating is how much difference a single change of letter can affect a seed. Here's what my favourite looks like with the ending Q changed to a T. Now, suddenly, my cosmic mountains have become an alien Arctic. with deep fissures throughout and distant hills to explore. Give adventure for a bit a go if you fancy something unusual, yet also very relaxing.
For the last game, I wanted something relatively brainless to play after a day of work. One option is to pick one of those very chill, low-stakes games. The other option that sometimes works for me is something arcadey, fast, and hard, that makes me hyper-focus, forgetting every other thing in the world. No Thing is precisely that. It is a fairly simple game where all you do is just turn left or right, but the further you go, it actually keeps getting more and more tricky. It's the kind of game that could probably be beaten in half an hour if you don't fail, but it will most likely take several hours because you'll fail and fail again. No! No! This whimper comes out of me. What initially drew me to pick this game was the visual presentation, the glitchy monochrome vaporwave kinda thing, but I was left somewhat surprised that it didn't feel like a cliché chill Macintosh Plus vibe. If anything, the game ends up portraying itself as somewhat passive-aggressive with the monotone robotic narrator telling how terrible office jobs are, that every word said is being monitored, that you better not do anything out of the norm if you want to stay okay, and that it's not your friend.
Look at your face.
I can't. No Thing felt to me like a game I would actually enjoy playing on a phone, and there is actually a mobile version, because it's like this simple time-waster game that I would play and get a little rush of dopamine when beating my own high score. Except, No Thing doesn't reset all the progress upon death. Instead, it has a sort of a narrative and checkpoints at different stages, and each stage would have progressively harder electronic music accompanying it, and a gimmick that mixes things up.
Our democracy. Totalitarian machine.
Am I in Russia? For how minimalistic No Thing is, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It could have easily been way worse. And I'm not normally a fan of difficult, reflex-based games either, but this was simple enough not to get me too frustrated. The levels felt fair throughout, even in tricky parts, and dying wouldn't take away a lot of progress, or wouldn't make you wait through long loading screens. You can just get right back into action. It turns into just one more try kinda thing that drags into 2 AM.
You are sad. Paperwork wife.
Paperwork.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Printed out my waifu. And these are just a few games out of many in the bundle for Ukraine. I highly encourage to support it too, since it has quite a few really interesting games, many of which I myself have been having in my wishlist for a while. And because the money goes to an important cause, there are just a few days left to buy the bundle, so don't sleep on it. Huge thanks to my friend from Bad Ghost channel for helping me make this video possible. Do check his content out, it's pretty great. Thank you for watching. Slava Ukraini!